Let's say China.
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 China. China.
There are no storm movers, and you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
Go over to China.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Trump statement, tweeting out insults to Angela Merkel. What's he doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host.
Yes. Hello, and welcome. I am James Andrews, and you are listening to So This Happened, the only news you need if your name is Ron and you live in the great state of Wisconsin. It's Thursday, the 14th of September 2017, and today it has emerged that a man worth $300 million wanted to use a government plane for his honeymoon. That's right, the US Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, decided that it would be a good use of taxpayer dollars if we would pay for the travel for his honeymoon. Now, the request that Steve made was brought into question by the department's Inspector General, who sort of looked at this and said, I don't know, Steve, this might be just pushing it a little bit too far. But Mr. Mnuchin's office defended the request, saying that the $25,000 per hour plane was needed due to his position on the White House Security Council. Well, the request was later removed when he sort of looked at it and said, what the fuck am I doing? My God, I'm an idiot. And Mr. Mnuchin's office covered it up by not quite saying he's an idiot, by saying, well, we rethought about it and we discovered another way to travel. That's right, Steve, the same way that the rest of us travel. And just so you know where he went, Scotland, France, and Italy. Nice honeymoon, right? And the fact that he really expected the taxpayers to foot the bill for this is, well, it's incredible, but very little amazes me anymore. A dog could become mayor, and I wouldn't be shocked. But anyway, we hope that his honeymoon was successful, and the fact that he had to pay for his own travel didn't diminish the fun too much. And speaking of things that somebody thought would be fun at the time, but it actually turned out not to be fun at all, we're going to move to Pennsylvania, where 2 doctors have been suspended after circulating photographs they took of a patient with a genital injury. Now, the genital injury in question is... Sorry, I'm not trying to keep... I'm 12 years old, you understand that, right? So when I start talking about genitals, I start giggling. I can't help it. It's genetic. My dad's probably the same way. He is the same way, actually. Anyway, this genital injury was to remove a foreign object. Unfortunately, the story doesn't tell us what the foreign object is, so I'll just leave that to your imagination. Anyway, these 2 doctors took photographs and videos of it and spread it around the staff. And luckily, somebody said, "Oh, doctors, that's a little bit fucked up," and reported them, and they have been suspended. Now, one of the doctors, and this is great, this is a good excuse, and I suppose if you're a doctor, you can try it, but it didn't work in this case. But their excuse was, no, we took the pictures so we could use them in a future medical lecture that we might want to do about people that stick shit up their vaginas or in their penises, because we don't know if it was a girl or a boy. It could be either one. The idea of sticking something up your penis just makes me cringe. Anyway, that excuse did not work. They didn't buy the fact that he was taking photographs so he could use them in a lecture, particularly since he spread it around to the staff and said, look at this fucking thing. Can you believe that went in there? I cannot believe it. Look at that. It's a massive thing. How did that get in there? Anyway, he's been suspended, so he sounds like a bit of a twat. That was very sexist of me. I don't know if the doctor was a male or a female. Okay, we do, don't we? It was a man. There's no way a woman would take a picture of someone's junk and spread it around. That is a completely male thing to do. So it was a man, and he's a dick. But there is a moral to this story, I think, and that moral is, don't put shit where it doesn't belong. Do you know what I mean? Just think about it and say, you know what, if I do this, I might end up in hospital. People are going to see it. Some twat with a camera might take a photograph of it and spread it around for a bit of a giggle. So, you know what? I'm going to put the mustard jar down and do this the old-fashioned way. And last night, in what I can only describe as the dinner party from hell, President Trump, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer sat down for a bite to eat. Now, I would love to have been a fly on the wall for that, because then at least somebody would be able to tell us exactly what happened. Well, actually, if it was a fly on the wall, it probably wouldn't, would it? You'd say, so Fly, what did President Trump say? Bzz, 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 bzz. Right. And then Nancy Pelosi said, bzz, 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 bzz. I see. And then Chuck said what? Bzz, 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 bzz. Right. And the president responded, bzz, 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 bzz. Okay, so maybe a fly wouldn't have been the best witness. But I do wish there was someone there, because neither of the parties can get what happened straight. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer came out of the dinner and they told the press that, yeah, you know what, I think we may have come up with a deal to protect the Dreamers, and we probably are not going to build Donald Trump's wall. In her statement, Nancy Pelosi said, and I quote, "We had an agreement to move forward, in our view, with a DREAM Act as the basis for how we protect the Dreamers, and for further discussions on what provisions relating to the border might be, and an accompanying bill to whatever as we go forward." Now, President Trump shot back almost immediately, saying, no, we're close to a deal, but that's not at all what we discussed. The Dreamers are almost certainly directly tied to me getting my wall. Now, that was subtext. He didn't come out and say that, but reading between the lines, that's exactly what he was getting at. And then, to further confuse things, this morning, Donald Trump tweeted, out of nowhere, "Does anybody really want to throw out good, educated, and accomplished young people who have jobs, some serving in the military? Really?" So there's a tweet from Donald Trump that doesn't sound like a tweet from Donald Trump. That sounds like a tweet from Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi. So all of this has sort of infuriated Trump's people on the right. They're saying, wait a second, you're using the same language as the Democrats now. But last night, after the dinner, you were telling us that no, we didn't talk about that. That's not what we said. Then this morning you tweet, why would we want to kick the Dreamers out the country? He seems to be forgetting that he is the one who cancelled the DACA program. But I think what all this is leading up to is Donald Trump is going to say, okay, the Dreamers can stay, we'll continue the DACA program, we'll make it law. But in order for that to happen, I get my fucking wall. And today, when he landed in Florida, a reporter asked him that very question, and he sort of ducked around answering it, and then he answered it.
The wall, at some point, they're going to have to, they cannot obstruct the wall. The wall to me is vital. If I don't get the wall, then we will become the obstruction.
What has to come first, wall and freedom and all the
We
wall?
have to have an understanding that whether it's in the budget or some other vehicle, in a fairly short period of time, the wall will be funded. Otherwise, we're not doing anything. Tax reform, Mr. President.
I want my wall! I want my wall! Give me my goddamn wall! He's like a fucking child, isn't he? He really is. It's incredible. You know, it's sort of, we're talking about 800,000 human beings, and he's using them as pawns in this asinine game of chess that he seems to be playing. Actually, it's not a game of chess, is it? This is just a continuation of the Trump show that we've been seeing. He's treating the whole presidency like a big game show. He's sort of keeping you guessing, so you'll tune in next week to find out what happens. If we look at just the last 24 hours, the contradictions are staggering. immediately after the meal with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, after they said that, we almost got a deal here, it doesn't involve the wall, but DACA's going to happen, he immediately tweeted out a series of tweets denying all of it, saying, no, there was no deal on border security or immigration. We had a nice little dinner. The chocolate cake was incredible, by the way. Had it shipped in from Mar-a-Lago. Power was off down there, so it got a bit soft in the middle. But I don't think Chuck and Nancy noticed. They don't have that much class, so I don't think they noticed. It was a bit funny there in the middle. But then today, when he was talking to reporters in Florida, he effectively said exactly the same thing that Chuck and Nancy had said they had talked about in the dinner. And sorry, I got a bit stuttery there, because Chuck and Nancy, they sound like this crazy punk rock duo, and Chuck's going to stab Nancy later on after they've done a little bit of heroin. They're not going to do that, but it's just I can't call them Chuck and Nancy. It's too silly. So Pelosi and Schumer. There we go. That's better. Now it sounds like a law firm. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. There we go. Now you know who I'm talking about. Anyway, I digress on my whole Chuck and Nancy thing. So today, Donald Trump laid out essentially the Democratic justifications for why the Dreamers should be able to stay. They were brought here by no fault of their own, and therefore they should be able to stay. Now, this is going to come as a massive shock to Trump's diehard supporters, who view any DACA-like agreement as amnesty for lawbreakers. Now, Donald Trump was very quick to point out that no, this is not amnesty. This is, we're just going to let them stay because they didn't have a choice about coming. Not amnesty, okay? It's not amnesty. It's just, we're going to let them stay because they didn't have a choice, that they were brought here. So, not amnesty, we're just going to, it is amnesty. You could almost see him doing that, just sort of going, yeah, oh, God damn it, why am I the president? Why? And of course, by tomorrow, he could completely have changed his tune, because you remember in 2015, in an interview, Donald Trump said that the Dreamers have to go, in no uncertain terms. So possibly, by tomorrow, he'll be trying to kick them out the country again. I suppose it depends how it plays with his base. But the spin that he's going to put on this, and that the White House is going to put on this, is that, okay, we're going to cut a deal. I'll get my wall, and the Dreamers can stay. But the wall is going to be twice as big as it was going to be originally. There are going to be Rottweilers patrolling the grounds, men with machine guns all the way along the top. And you know what we might do? We might get some boiling oil as well. So if anybody tries to climb it, we'll just pour the oil down on them. Mr. President, stop watching Game of Thrones. What? Stop watching Game of Thrones. We're not going to pour boiling oil on Mexicans. Why not? Because you can't do that. Says who? It'll be pretty much everyone. Not my fans. No, not the 30% of people who like you. They might like the oil on Mexican thing. Then we'll fucking do it. We'll talk about this later. Where's your strategic communications director? Where is she? Help! He wants to do the oil on the Mexican thing again. I'm so glad you come along with me on these little tangents. Maybe you don't. Maybe you stop it when I go off on them. I don't know. But it's how my brain works. I can't help it. Anyway, listen, folks. We are out of time, unfortunately, for the day. So it was a fun conversation, as always. And we'll do it again tomorrow. Tomorrow being Friday, last day of the week. How great is that? Anyway, have a great evening. And don't forget to subscribe and like the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, wherever my voice is heard. YouTube. You can watch me on YouTube. There's no picture. It's not a video. It's just, well, there's a photograph of me. But then it's just me talking. If you want to do that, that's fine too. Anyway, good night.